Well, you felt, as you said before, you felt like you had everything that a guy could ask for here as far as success goes in your mind.
Yeah, I was building my own I was on my own path. You know, I wasn't gonna like just not to gamble. Yeah, we could talk about it more. Not to just gamble, getting a record deal like everyone else gets a record deal and they lose a record deal. And who the fuck? I'm not moving to LA for that. No fucking way. I'm here. I got family here. I've got people here who like me.
Was there any trepidation on your part because you weren't familiar with these people that were promising you the world?
Yeah, I just didn't believe it. I just in the moment I wasn't. I'm not that desperate.
Sure.
I wasn't. You know,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I might have chased millions, but I ain't chasing carrots.
Sure. Once you kind of solidified that in your mind and you made your decision and told them that, we also discussed, and I think this is where we ended it. Yeah. You had a lot of friends and associates in the industry kind of suggesting that you do an acoustic album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where the last part.
That's right. Yeah, because we had Seth, my son, and then I couldn't go out and go produce I couldn't go produce a long record, but I wanted to put something out for people.
Sure. So you had named the albums for everybody. You had 2 albums.
So I had my first record, which was my debut Chris LeBlanc Band record that I put out in 1995. And then the second record I put out was Chris LeBlanc Band Talent Show, which was 1998. And both of those records and kind of what was happening with the band drew the interest of the record company people. A few different labels were checking it out, and RCA was the one that was like, hey, they flew me out to LA along with my band and set up the showcase, and then you know, I knew I was about to be a dad. So then became a dad, and then that's when I recorded the performance record, which is my Son of the South acoustic record, and that kind of changed my view on everything, really, of what I wanted to do.
How so?
Well, I went from like previously recording records in a studio with like tape machines and mixers to like to going to making a record. You know, I had a suggestion from some of my friends that were in the music business that were going, dude, why don't you just like, they'd see me go out and do these acoustic records or play acoustic and do some of these things, and why don't you do like a solo acoustic-y performance kind of record?
Were you doing that live already?
Yeah, I was already.
And so they were seeing that and they wanted to capture that.
Right, they were like, dude, that's where you know, people dig where you are, and so I did that. I literally. That was in the time of where, you know, my buddy says, look, I can bring my computer and it's Pro Tools, bring my laptop and my computer, and we can set up where you want to set up. So I went downtown Baton Rouge and set up in a little chapel, a little church that they had down there. And I set up on the pulpit, up on there, and it sounded cool in this room, you know, and I was like, okay. And I literally, we set up a few microphones, and I cut basically 2 or 3 takes of each tune. I just sat up there and played, did some different instruments. I'd play an acoustic here, I'd play my slide guitar,
Okay.
metal slide guitar, couple of different slide guitars, but and literally like in 3.5 hours made a record. It was a performance record. What we did, I say 3.5 hours, you know, I was in the middle of having the reason why I wanted to do this was because I didn't have a bunch of time to go and devote to like producing a record, having a bunch of all of that going on, and I have a kid, a brand new baby.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Did you do it? Did part of you want to do it because it made sense to you where you were at in your life at that time?
Yeah, it all made sense. It just kind of, in the moment, I was like, you know what? I cannot go and live in the studio, and I can't go do that right now.
Yeah.
And so that was part of my reasoning behind it. I wanted to put out I wanted to do something cool like that, and so yeah, man, I went and did it and cut a bunch of tunes, and it turned into, we picked the best tunes, and then with some help from my friends who were a couple of different producer guys, and they mixed it, and which is not a lot of, it wasn't really difficult to mix, it's just me and guitars, but it really made sense. And we mixed and mastered the record, and it turns out that record was the one that was like, just everyone was like, wow, man, this is you.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, exactly.
The easiest one for you to make.
The easiest record for me to make was the most honest.
Yeah.
And most honest, wasn't a bunch of studio sound and blah, blah, blah. It was a performance record.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of my favorite. I just love what it is. It was like it just sounded really honest, and I believed it.
Yeah.
And then, when you listen to it, you can believe it.
It may not be super relevant, but I was going to ask how you negotiated some of the characteristics of that church, because I mean, some of them are good, some of them are bad.
Yeah. I was actually going to church at the church there, and they have a big room, and then they had a little smaller chapel, and that's kind of where I was. I went into the little smaller one.
Oh, okay.
It was just like a little smaller. It was not too big, but it was pretty cool, man. That it was like they were cool enough to say, "Sure, man, come on in and do this."
Yeah.
And I was playing the blues and playing some. I did some of my on this record. I did some of my tunes, and then I also recorded some classic tunes. Louisiana 1927, which was one of the tunes on there, and a couple of blues, Crossroads. I did a Robert Johnson. I did a Taj Mahal song.
Cool.
There's some cool tunes on it. That's really like, it's a good listen.
Yeah.
And it was just, it turned into the third release that I had put out, which is called Son of the South. And yeah, then I kind of went on that for a little while, and then at the same time, after that was done, then I was writing more tunes and kind of developing more band tunes. So I was like, man, I want to put out another band record.